Hi, I'm Ginger Taylor. Last weekend I was a delegate to the Maine GOP state convention. Delegates who wanted to support Mitt Romney could pick up a blue unity slate that had the names of the delegates that the Mitt Romney camp wanted them to vote for. Alternatively, those who wanted to support Ron Paul could pick up a yellow Ron Paul folder that had inside the names of the delegates that the Paul campaign wanted them to vote for. Unfortunately, some people in the Romney camp weren't interested in fair play and began to circulate two fake slates with names of other Ron Paul supporters in them to try to convince or trick the Ron Paul supporters to vote for people that were not endorsed by the Ron Paul campaign.
Why, what's happening?
Is it recording?
Yeah.
This is the guy with the fake slate. This is the guy with the fake slate. He's passing out a slate with Ron Paul supporters. He's making a slate with Ron Paul supporters to divide our vote. This is... It's a public place. We can even include it.
So the question became, who is this guy who is circulating the longer form of the two fake slates? It turned out that he was a young man named Charlie Nedgedly, a recent graduate of Notre Dame University, an employee of Mitt Romney for President Incorporated. Charlie's been working for Romney, Inc. in Maine under Carl Beckstein, who is leading the campaign for the state. After the fake slates were handed out, another young man named David Sorensen approached the microphone to nominate the people who were listed on the fake slates, none of whom had put their names forward to be nominated as delegates, and I know this because mine was one of the names that he called. David is a policy aide in the Maine House of Representatives House Majority Office, and he's a law student at the University of Maine Law School. Romney's lead attorney, Benjamin Ginsburg, was at the convention and was overheard talking to Charlie and saying that he would, quote, get him back to Boston. Which raises the question, was Ginsburg involved in the scheme? And ironically, the day that the Romney camp was working to deceive the Ron Paul Republicans in Maine, Mitt had also sent his brother Scott to the convention to speak at the presidential dinner to encourage unity in the party. So will Mitt Romney denounce these shenanigans, or does he approve of them? Is Ginsburg directing them? Is Beckstein coordinating them? Is Sorensen a man deserving of the public trust? Is he wise enough to be serving in the Maine House? And is he ethical enough to be practicing law? When Sorensen was contacted via Twitter to confirm and explain his actions at the convention, and after it was noted that he was making derogatory comments about Ron Paul supporters on Twitter, rather than responding, he locked up his Twitter account. Which leads us back to Charlie. I've produced a much longer video with all the details and supports for what I've said here, and at the end of that I appealed to Charlie to apologize to the Maine Republicans for what he did. But I also want an apology from Mitt Romney for using a 22-year-old kid to try to steal the state of Maine.
Inside the convention hall, delegates who did make it, they were asked by Speaker of the House John Boehner to vote on adopting this new rule. Now listen as the vote is taken.
The question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Pending on the chair, the ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it? How could the Speaker of the House determine clearly how many voted aye and how many voted no? Listen again, but this time to cell phone video from inside the crowd. Well, maybe there's a good reason, a really good reason, that Boehner claimed the ayes had it. Today, incredible cell phone video was released as delegates stood by and videotaped the teleprompter that Speaker Boehner was reading from. We're going to take this video full so you can read along for yourself.
Thank you for putting this question as order. question is on the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it.
So, the most controversial rule in the Republican Party history, according to countless conservatives, wasn't voted through at all. It was scripted. Despite the shouts of what at least half the room of delegates appeared to have been voting, Boehner just read along with the script. So why is this rule so controversial? Well, consider this. In 1976, Ronald Reagan was a conservative outsider in the Republican Party. But delegates who were conservatives fought back against a presumptive nominee at the time, Gerald Ford, and they forced a brokered convention. Reagan nearly upset Ford thanks to conservative delegates who had had enough with progressive republicanism. Brian Doherty is a Republican National Convention delegate from Pennsylvania. He made this point about this rule change this week. Quote, "Now these rules as they are, if they were in place in 1976, Ronald Reagan would never have risen to power in the Republican Party. When he challenged Ford in '76, he would not have had a say. And then he would not have been in a position to win in 1980. So we would not have a President Reagan if those rules had existed back then." So what you need to know is that the Republican Party didn't need to do any of this to nominate Mitt Romney. Romney had the nomination. He had the numbers at least. But looking ahead, it appears the party was so concerned about not having to put up with Tea Party candidates or Liberty candidates in the future, or apparently with those conservatives like Ronald Reagan in the past, that they were willing to start a civil war for control of the party. Make no mistake, what happened in Tampa will not stay in Tampa. And that is Reality Check.
Yeah, hi.
All right, so I am polling people, but would you vote for Romney or Obama?
Well, wait, I thought you were registering voters a minute ago.
I am.
Okay.
But
And who are you registering? All voters?
well, I'm actually trying to register people
Hang on.
for a particular party because we're out here in support of Romney, actually. I am.
And who's paying you for this?
Let me see. We're working for the county clerk's office.
Okay, you
And so we're
cannot
just
come
taking
out
a
here and
poll.
register one party, lady. Are you working for the county clerk's office? I got it all on tape. You're working for the county clerk's office?
I believe so, yes.
And you're only registering Republicans?
Nope.
You said we're only registering Romney people.
Well, we're trying to be honest.
And you're working for the county's office? What's your name?
Man, my name is...
Thanks. That's all I
Alright,
need,
then.
honey bunch.
The North Carolina GOP is now the latest to fire a firm under investigation for voter fraud in Florida. The company known as Strategic Allied Consulting has been helping Republican efforts to get out the vote in battleground states. In fact, reports show the Republican National Committee paid the company nearly $3 million this year, a revelation that now has the GOP throwing punches.
It's wholly different. We, at this point, have an allegation. That mere allegation has caused us to act swiftly and boldly and sever our ties with this firm because we have a zero tolerance when it comes to this. The other side clearly engaged for a long time in inappropriate behavior. We don't believe that that's appropriate, and we wanted to make a swift and bold action to illustrate that.
Let me go ahead and bring in NBC's national investigative correspondent, Michael Isikoff. Mike, is this the first time this particular consultant has been accused of voter fraud?
Well, he certainly had Nathan Spruill, who's a longtime Republican operative, former executive director of the Arizona Republican Party, and he's been accused of election misconduct by Democrats in the past, voter suppression, throwing out voter registration forms. I should say, none of them have led to criminal charges or any civil findings against him, but it has made him a somewhat controversial figure. So one of the things Mr. Spruill said is that when the Republican National Committee hired him to do this, they wanted him to set a new firm up under a name that wasn't traceable to him, so it would not be a problem or create problems and create new controversy over him. Well, that turned out not to be the case. Obviously, Strategic Allied Consulting does link back to Nathan Spruill, and it is employees of his firm that have been linked to these allegations of registration fraud in Florida.